The documents are incomplete, pages missing, dates smudged or never written at all, but fragments remain. Enough to suggest a story of one family, hidden in the Appalachian valleys, a family that erased itself from history. Among the fragments, 2 photographs. The first, a child no older than 12, her dress plain, her hair tied back. The second, a bride, veil lowered, standing beside an older man. The face is the same. The child, the bride. 2 identities separated not by years, but by silence. Neighbors recalled a house with curtains always drawn, windows closed even in summer. A family name carved from county records, lines scratched out, letters unreadable. One neighbor later described it as a house where voices did not carry. The official documents, census lists, church records, even property deeds, shift abruptly. The family appears for 1 year, then disappears the next. When questioned, county officials offered no explanation. Some claimed the records were misplaced, others insisted they never existed. But in a private ledger, a line appears beside the family's name. Child married within the household. No signatures. No witnesses. Just a line of handwriting, as though the entry itself was ashamed to remain. The silence surrounding the house was deliberate. Those who lived nearby admitted in later years that they heard whispers carried through the hollow. A child's voice calling someone father. Then, moments later, the same voice calling husband. The testimonies diverge, as if memory itself wished to deny the truth. One woman recalled seeing a girl standing on the porch, her eyes fixed downward, refusing to meet anyone's gaze. Another insisted she saw 2 children, though no record confirms that a second child ever lived in the house. When county clerks were pressed, the response was always the same. Official silence. Documents missing. Pages sealed. Requests denied. This silence, repeated for decades, became heavier than any fact. The weight of what was not said. In the few reports that survived, language was clinical, detached. Unusual household arrangement. Domestic irregularity. Words chosen to obscure rather than explain. Words that erased the girl's name, her voice, her existence. By the time outside researchers attempted to reconstruct the story, the house was gone. Burned down, neighbors said, in a fire no one admitted starting. The graves nearby had no markers. The family Bible, if it existed, was never found. All that remains are fragments, photographs, a ledger note, whispered accounts reluctantly passed down. A child, a bride, the same face. The documents close there. No death certificates, no final entry, which leaves us with only a question that still lingers like smoke in the hollow. How can someone be both daughter and wife? The deeper one searches, the stranger the absence becomes. In census records of the valley, a pattern emerges. Entire families appearing in one decade, absent the next. Houses mapped on surveys, then erased from later charts. It is as if whole bloodlines vanished overnight. Some genealogists attempting to reconstruct the family encountered the same silence. Birth certificates missing, marriage licenses unsigned, funeral ledgers abruptly stopping. A county archivist speaking off record admitted, "Those papers were pulled. We were told not to keep them." But why? Whispers from neighbors, collected. Decades later, offer fragments. They describe kin who never left the hollow, children who never married outside their own name, a family line folding inward, generation after generation, until the surname itself became a secret. One account from a school teacher recalls children who struggled to speak, who would vanish from class as quickly as they arrived. Another, from a church elder, recalls a wedding performed at dusk with no witnesses, no registry, no mention from the pulpit. The hollow seemed to enforce its own silence. Locals avoided the road leading to the house. Travelers who passed through remembered the feeling of being watched. But no one confronted it, no one reported it. The family's isolation became impenetrable, and the absence in official records only deepened their disappearance. For genealogists, tracing the family tree is like reaching for branches already burned. Lines end abruptly. Names cross out. A legacy hidden not by distance but by deliberate mission. The house itself stood for decades, shuttered, its curtains never lifted. Locals called it the Hollow House. Some swore light glowed faintly from the attic, though no lamp burned there. When asked what happened inside, the answer was always the same. Nothing worth speaking of. But silence is rarely empty. Silence conceals. Silence distorts. And in this hollow, silence became the family's only inheritance. Fragments of evidence, scattered and incomplete, are all that remain. A photograph charred at the edges. A child in a veil standing beside a man twice her age. The inscription on the back, erased. Court documents sealed in county basements. Medical reports stamped, confidential. The few surviving notes point to birth defects, children born without names, infants who did not survive. But the most chilling piece is a testimony. One line, recorded in a clerk's shaky handwriting, later crossed out in thick black ink. She was my sister, my daughter, and my wife. The ink bled across the page, but the outline of the words remains. Attempts to verify the handwriting failed. The clerk responsible never gave another statement. Within months, the file was closed. Even today, access is limited. Requests to unseal the records are denied. Local historians admit privately that they too have seen pages missing, photographs misfiled, documents mislabeled. The pattern is unmistakable. Deliberate erasure. A coordinated silence across multiple agencies, spanning decades. The surviving. Evidence points toward one truth. A bloodline that collapsed in on itself. A family curse of its own making. The names of the children are unknown. The graves unmarked. The house destroyed. But the silence left behind is louder than any testimony. Today, the road to the hollow is overgrown. No sign marks where the house once stood. Only trees, thick and silent, guard the space. But locals insist the land remembers. They say if you stand there at night, the air feels heavy. That whispers, ride the wind, that a girl's voice can be heard calling for her father and her husband in the same breath. No records confirm it. No living witness admits to it. But the silence itself feels deliberate, as though history chose to bury its wound beneath the soil. Researchers continue to ask, why was the family erased? Who destroyed the records? And why does every trail end in silence? Perhaps the truth lies, not in what was written, but in what was never allowed to be written. And so, the hollow remains, a wound without a marker, a case without a conclusion, a story without an ending. The only certainty is the question that survives. A question no record will answer. A question that echoes still. What happens when family becomes its own grave?